Her fingers were pressed against my chest. Not gently, urgently, the kind of pressure that said, "Shut up and don't move." "He's watching," Riley breathed, her face inches from mine. The blue dress she wore clung to every curve, and from any angle except mine, we looked like exactly what we weren't. Her hand slid up to my shoulder, nails digging in through my t-shirt. "Smile. Laugh. Make it look like I'm flirting." I forced my mouth into something approximating amusement, but my operational checklist was already running. Exit routes, blocked by delivery truck. Witnesses. Mrs. Patterson across the street, definitely filming this on her phone. Guest satisfaction risk. Catastrophic if this hit social media before I controlled the narrative. The scent of her perfume mixed with freshly cut grass and diesel fumes from the idling truck. Temperature, 78 degrees. Humidity making her foundation streak slightly at her temples. Threat assessment. The man in the black sedan 3 houses down, engine running, watching us through tinted windows. "Who is he?" I asked, keeping my voice low, my smile fixed. "Hotel inspector. Federal. He's been following me since I left the property." Her breath hitched. "Jackson, I found something in the reservation system, something that's going to destroy everything we've built." There it was. The crisis reveal at word 287. I'd known Riley Thomas for exactly 11 days, since she'd taken over as the new general manager of the Grand Meridian Resort, the 5-star property that had been my family's legacy for 3 generations. She'd arrived with a reputation for turning failing luxury hotels into Forbes' 5-star darlings. I'd stayed on as director of guest experience because change management protocol dictated maintaining institutional knowledge during transitions. Professional distance, mandatory. Personal interest, aggressively compartmentalized. Until she'd shown up at my house 20 minutes ago, improvising this neighbor romance theater to throw off federal surveillance. "The boxes," I said quietly, jerking my chin toward the stack of Amazon packages on my porch, her cover story for the visit. "Grab one. Make it look real." She shifted, her hand trailing down my arm as she turned, and I felt the data packet she'd pressed into my palm. Micro SD card. Standard protocol for evidence transfer when digital communication was compromised. The sedan's engine revved once. Warning. "Kiss my cheek," I said. "Left side, 3 seconds, then walk to your car like you just got my number." "Jackson, guest satisfaction requires believable service delivery. Sell it." She rose on her toes, her lips pressed against my cheek. Warm, slightly trembling. I counted. 1 Mississippi, 2 Mississippi, 3 Mississippi. My hand settled on her waist for exactly 2.4 seconds. Long enough to look authentic. Short enough to maintain operational boundaries. When she pulled back, her eyes held mine. "I would have been yours," she whispered, barely audible. "If he wasn't watching. If this wasn't—" "Does the old man still have it?" I cut her off with a smirk, pitching my voice for the surveillance. "The vintage wine collection you mentioned?" Her brain caught up. Right. We were discussing my fictional wine cellar, not whatever unspoken thing was crackling between us like static electricity before a storm. "Absolutely." She picked up a box, her smile megawatt and utterly fake. "I'll text you about that private tasting." She walked to her car, a leased BMW, part of her executive compensation package, and I tracked the sedan's reaction. The inspector didn't move. Good. He'd bought the performance. I waited until she'd turned the corner before going inside. 작품품. Pressure cooker. The micro SD card contained 247 pages of reservation data. I spread them across my dining room table at 9:47 p.m., my laptop running 3 cross-reference programs simultaneously. Service industry paranoia. Occupational requirement. I'd learned it from my father, who'd learned it from his. Every guest complaint was a potential lawsuit. Every 5-star review hit a customer who'd considered leaving 1 star. Every employee smiled while planning their exit interview. The paranoid prepper soul type wasn't a choice. It was survival. I'd already swept my house for surveillance devices twice, checked my phone for spyware, verified my internet connection was running through a VPN with military-grade encryption. Because if Riley was right, if someone was using our hotel for money laundering, then everyone became a potential threat. My phone buzzed. Text from Riley. "Clear to call?" I dialed. She picked up on the first ring. "Talk," I said. "Reservation pattern. Every 3rd Friday for the last 8 months. Same credit card, different names. Presidential suite. 24-hour stay, never uses room service, never seen by housekeeping." I pulled up the data she'd flagged. She was right. Ghost bookings. Classic laundering technique. Pay cash rates, run dirty money through as revenue, extract clean funds through payroll or vendor payments. "Average transaction value?" I asked. $47,000 per booking, times 32 bookings. I did the math. $1.5 million. Enough to trigger federal investigation thresholds. "Who has access to modify these reservations?" I asked. Silence. Then, "Jackson, it's Keith. Keith Brennan, our CFO, my father's college roommate, the man who'd taught me to ride a bike. Threat assessment. Critical. Probability of containment without external exposure, 23%. "We have 72 hours, I said, checking the booking calendar. "Next ghost reservation is Friday at 4 p.m. We need irrefutable documentation before then, or the inspector shuts us down and we lose everything in the investigation." "I can't do this alone," Riley said quietly. "He's got administrative access to everything. If he realizes I found this—" "You're not alone." The words came out harder than I'd intended. "Recalibrating. We're partners in this. Standard crisis management protocol. Identify threat, isolate, neutralize. I've done this for guest disasters. This is just bigger stakes." "Jackson." Her voice softened. "Thank you." I compartmentalized the warmth that spread through my chest, filed it under. Irrelevant emotional data, ignore. "Come to my house tomorrow, 6 a.m. Bring your laptop. We'll build the case before the morning shift starts." Tactical intimacy. She arrived at 5:47 a.m. 13 minutes early. I noted it. Overachiever profile, anxiety management through control. I'd already set up the dining room. 2 laptops, 3 monitors, coffee station with premium beans. Guest experience training applied to crisis management. Create optimal working conditions, reduce friction, maximize productivity. Riley wore yoga pants and an oversized Northwestern sweatshirt. Hair in a messy bun. No makeup. It was the first time I'd seen her outside of her GM armor. The tailored suits, the perfect blowout, the executive polish. She looked human, stressed, real. "Coffee?" I offered. "Please." I poured her a cup. Black, 2 sugars. I'd observed her office habits during transition meetings. She wrapped both hands around the mug, and I saw them shake slightly. Threat assessment. Acute stress response. Adrenaline crash from yesterday's surveillance encounter. "Sit," I said, pulling out a chair. "I need you functional, not running on fumes." She obeyed, and I went to the kitchen. Returned with toast, peanut butter, banana slices. Standard endurance fuel. Eat. I'm not. Guest satisfaction rule number 1. You can't deliver premium service on an empty tank. Eat. She ate. I pretended not to notice the way her shoulders gradually relaxed, the tremor in her hands subsiding. I took the chair across from her, professional distance maintained, and pulled up the first data set. Walk me through your discovery process, I said. She set down the toast and leaned forward. Our knees bumped under the table. Accidental contact, level 1 on the touch progression ladder. She pulled back immediately. I pretended not to notice the heat that had sparked at the point of contact. Compartmentalized. Filed. Ignored. I was running a revenue variance report, she began. Standard monthly audit. I noticed the presidential suite had 98% occupancy, but 0 ancillary spending. No minibar charges, no spa bookings, no restaurant charges. 5-star guests always use amenities, I confirmed. It's why they pay premium rates. Exactly. So I pulled the individual reservations. She turned her laptop toward me. Look at the names. I scanned. Robert Davidson. David Robertson. Roberto Davis. Rob Davison. Variations on the same identity, I said. Amateur hour. That's what I thought, until I checked the credit card processing. She pulled up another screen. Different cards, different banks, but all traced back to shell companies with the same registered agent. My operational assessment shifted. This wasn't amateur. This was sophisticated laundering with deliberate breadcrumbs. Someone wanted the variation obvious enough to deter casual inspection, but complex enough to delay forensic investigation. Keith set this up, I said slowly. But he's not sophisticated enough to structure shell companies. He's got a partner. The inspector, Riley said. I think he's not investigating us. I think he's protecting the operation. The implications cascaded. Federal corruption. Our hotel is the fall guy. If we exposed Keith, we exposed the inspector. If we exposed the inspector... We need external authority, I said. Someone clean. Someone who can't be compromised. Who do you trust? Riley asked. I looked at her. Really looked. The fear in her eyes wasn't for herself. It was for the hotel. For the 247 employees who'd lose their jobs if this went public wrong. For the legacy my family had built. She cared. Actually cared. Trust assessment. Verified by action. She'd risked her career to bring this to me instead of covering it up. I trust you, I said. That's a start. Her breath caught. Our eyes held for 3 seconds. Then I forced myself to look away. Later. After the crisis. If we survived. I stood, creating physical distance. We have 68 hours. Let's build the case. Competence display. The next 48 hours operated on the same principle as a flawless concierge service. Anticipate needs. Eliminate friction. Deliver beyond expectations. Except instead of arranging theater tickets and restaurant reservations, I was building a forensic audit trail that would survive federal scrutiny. I pulled hotel security footage. Every presidential suite booking for 8 months. Riley cross-referenced with credit card processing timestamps. I identified the pattern. Check-in via digital key. No front desk interaction. Check-out via auto-billing. No guest contact. Ghost protocol, I muttered, highlighting the 17th instance. Hospitality industry term for VIP privacy requests. Someone's abusing the system. Can we prove Keith authorized these? Riley asked. I pulled up the admin access logs. There. Keith's credentials, every single ghost booking initialization. But something was off. Look at the timestamps, I said, turning the monitor toward her. These authorizations happened at 3 a.m., 4 a.m., 2:47 a.m. Keith's a morning person. He's at the gym by 5:30 a.m., but he's never at the hotel before 8. So, someone used his credentials, Riley said. Or he set up automated scheduling. I ran a packet capture on the server traffic. But that requires coding knowledge. Keith can barely use Excel. Riley went very still. Jackson, what if he's the fall guy? The operational framework shifted. If Keith wasn't the mastermind... We need physical evidence, I said. Something from the presidential suite. Something that proves occupancy fraud. Housekeeping logs, Riley said immediately. If the rooms are supposedly occupied but never serviced, the logs will show DNR status. I was already pulling up the housekeeping management system. Do not room, standard for VIP privacy. But our 5-star protocol requires turn-down service, Riley countered. Even DNR guests get offered service. Someone has to document the refusal. She was right. I filtered for DNR documentation on the ghost bookings. Blank. Every single one. No housekeeping contact means no actual guest, Riley said quietly. This is fraud documentation. I screenshot everything, encrypted the files, backed them up to 3 separate secure drives. Then Riley's phone buzzed. She went pale. What? I asked. Email from Keith. Emergency meeting, Friday morning, 8 a.m. Mandatory attendance, all senior leadership. She looked up. That's 4 hours before the next ghost booking. He knows, I said. Someone tipped him off that we're investigating. The operational timeline collapsed. We'd been planning to present evidence to the FBI after the Friday booking, catch the perpetrators in the act. Now we had less than 60 hours before Keith disappeared the evidence. We're out of time, Riley whispered. I stood, paced to the window. Risk assessment. If we moved now, we'd expose Keith but lose the inspector. If we waited, Keith would destroy everything. Then Riley was beside me, not touching, but close enough that I felt her warmth. Tell me what to do, she said. I turned. She was looking up at me with absolute trust. 0 doubt. Something in my chest cracked. We don't wait, I said. We force their hand. Tonight. Vulnerability rupture. At 11:34 p.m., we stood outside the Grand Meridian's presidential suite. I'd used my master credentials to access the building after hours. The hallway cameras were mysteriously offline. I'd anonymously reported a technical malfunction to create a coverage gap. Paranoid prepper protocol. Always have 3 exit strategies. Always assume surveillance. Always have plausible deniability. If we go in there, Riley said quietly, and we're wrong, we're not wrong. But if we are, I lose my job. You lose yours. We both get blacklisted from the industry. I looked at her. The hallway lighting cast shadows under her eyes. She hadn't slept in 2 days. Neither had I. What's your biggest fear? I asked. She blinked. What? Guest satisfaction assessment starts with understanding core needs. What are you actually afraid of? She was quiet for a long moment. Then, failing. Not the hotel. Failing the people who trusted me to save it. 247 employees. Their families. Their mortgages and kids' college funds and... Her voice cracked. If this goes wrong, they lose everything because I wasn't good enough. The weight of that confession settled between us. You want my professional assessment? I said. She nodded. Failure point analysis, 0. Your forensic work is impeccable. Your documentation exceeds federal audit standards. The evidence is irrefutable. I paused. This isn't going to fail. I won't let it. Her eyes searched mine. How can you be so sure? Because I've spent 15 years delivering 5-star experiences. I know how to exceed expectations. I know how to anticipate problems. I know how to execute flawlessly under pressure. I held her gaze. And I've never been more certain of a successful outcome than I am right now. The transfer of stability was complete. I watched the fear drain from her posture, replaced by steel resolve. She reached for the door handle. I stopped her. Hand over hers, warm contact, level 2 progression. "Let me go first," I said. "If there's anything dangerous, we go together," she said firmly. "Partners." I hesitated, then withdrew my hand. Together. We entered the suite. It was empty, pristine, looked exactly like every 5-star hotel room should. King bed with 800 thread-count linens, marble bathroom, sitting area with designer furniture. Except for one detail. "The minibar's stocked," Riley said. I checked the inventory log. "Shouldn't be. Room's supposedly occupied. Guest would have been charged for any consumption." I opened it. Every bottle, every snack, still sealed. Inventory tag dated 8 days ago. "No one's been here," I confirmed. Riley was checking the bathroom. Toiletries unopened, towels untouched. I photographed everything. Then I noticed something. A faint outline on the nightstand. Rectangular. Like something had been sitting there recently. "Laptop," I said. "Someone was working here." "But not staying," Riley finished. "Using the room as an office, coming and going without checking in." "With Keith's credentials," I added. "Bypassing all security protocols." My phone buzzed. Unknown number. I answered. "Mr. Miller?" Male voice. Unfamiliar. "This is Special Agent Torres, FBI Financial Crimes Division. I believe you've been investigating reservation irregularities at your property." I looked at Riley. She'd gone very still. "Who gave you this number?" I asked carefully. "Your CFO, Keith Brennan. He contacted us 6 hours ago with evidence of fraud at the Grand Meridian. Evidence that implicates you and Ms. Thomas in a money laundering scheme." The bottom dropped out. Public confrontation. The emergency meeting happened at 8 a.m. sharp. Conference room. Keith at the head of the table. Federal inspector, now identified as Agent Warren, at his right. The hotel's board of directors via video call. And Riley and I, sitting side by side like defendants. "Let's get this over with," Keith said, his voice tired. "Jackson, Riley, you're both being placed on administrative leave pending federal investigation into reservation fraud." Riley's hand clenched into a fist under the table. I kept my expression neutral. "The evidence," Agent Warren began, laying out printed documents, "shows systematic abuse of the reservation system to process illegal transactions, credit card fraud, identity theft, money laundering, all traced to administrative credentials held by Mr. Miller and Ms. Thomas." "That's insane," Riley said. "We brought this to the authorities." "After you were caught," Keith interrupted. "Agent Warren has been investigating this hotel for 3 months. You initiated contact with Mr. Miller only after surveillance was detected." The setup was flawless. Keith as the whistleblower. Us as the criminals who'd tried to frame him. "May I see the evidence?" I asked calmly. Agent Warren slid a folder across the table. I opened it. Admin access logs. Modified to show Riley and I had created the ghost bookings, credit card processing trails routing through our personal credentials. Whoever had done this was good. Very good. Except for one mistake. "Interesting," I said, examining a timestamp. "This log shows I authorized a presidential suite booking on October 23rd at 11:47 p.m. "Correct," Agent Warren said. "I was in Chicago that night. Hotel industry conference. Keynote speaker at 8 p.m., dinner with suppliers until midnight. I pulled out my phone, showed him the calendar. Confirmed by 200 witnesses and security footage from the Ritz-Carlton. Why, Keith's confidence flickered. And this one, Riley added, pointing to another entry. November 6th. I was on a site visit in Miami. My location data from that entire week is documented by hotel security protocols. I toured 4 properties, never touched a Grand Meridian computer. She pulled out her tablet, showed the geo-tagged reports. Easy to fabricate, Keith said, but his voice had lost its certainty. Data doesn't lie, I said quietly, and it definitely doesn't care about volume or authority or tenure. I pulled out my laptop, opened the real evidence file, the one we'd built over 3 days. These are the actual admin logs, I said, unmodified, showing systematic credential theft and automated booking scripts run from a single IP address, an address that traces to, I paused, meeting Keith's eyes, the CFO office terminal. Your terminal, Keith. That's circumstantial, Agent Warren said, but he was leaning forward now, interested. This isn't. Riley opened her laptop. Security footage. Keith entering the presidential suite at 2 a.m., setting up a laptop, working for 3 hours, leaving before the morning shift. That's not me, Keith said, but the tremor in his voice gave him away. Facial recognition says otherwise, I countered, confirmed by 3 separate systems. The board members on screen were leaning closer. One of them, Patricia Chen, former federal prosecutor, spoke up. Agent Warren, whose authority are you operating under? Warren hesitated. Financial Crimes Division, San Francisco office. Funny, Patricia said. I just called them. They have no Agent Warren. They have no active investigation of the Grand Meridian. The room went silent. Who are you really? I asked Warren. He stood, reached for something. I was faster, training from paranoid prepper protocols. I hit the conference room panic button. Security arrived in 47 seconds. Warren, real name Vincent Corso, disbarred attorney with fraud convictions, was handcuffed. Keith sat frozen. His entire scheme collapsed. The real FBI arrived 20 minutes later. Decompression. We gave statements for 4 hours, turned over all evidence, watched as federal agents arrested Keith and Corso, shut down the money laundering operation, seized the shell company accounts. By 3 p.m., it was over. Riley and I stood in the hotel parking lot. The adrenaline crash hit us simultaneously. I felt it in the tremor of my hands, the sudden exhaustion weighing down my shoulders. We did it, Riley said quietly. We did it, I confirmed. Silence, birds chirping, traffic sounds from the highway, the sun warm on our faces. Then Riley turned to me, reached up. Her palm pressed against my chest, right over my heart. Thank you, she said, for believing in me, for trusting me, for... I covered her hand with mine, held it there. Level 3 contact, deliberate, acknowledged. You saved the hotel, I said. You saved 247 jobs. You risked everything to do the right thing. We saved it, she corrected. Together. Her eyes were on mine. I was very aware of the parking lot cameras, the afternoon shift arriving, the public nature of this moment. I was also very aware that I didn't care. Jackson, she said softly. That thing I said, at your house, about how I would have been yours, I remember. I meant it. I mean it. My heart was doing something complicated and unprofessional. Something that had nothing to do with guest satisfaction protocols and everything to do with the woman standing in front of me. We should wait, I said, until the investigation closes, until there's no question of professional compromise. How long? Protocol suggests 90 days minimum. She smiled. Slow, devastating. Think you can wait that long? Guest satisfaction requires delayed gratification, I said. Good things take time. Is that a yes? I pulled her hand from my chest, threaded our fingers together. Public anchoring. Level 4. No ambiguity. That's a yes, I confirmed. The offer. 7 days later, the Grand Meridian hosted a celebration gala. Federal investigation closed. Keith and Corso facing 20 years each. The hotel's reputation not just intact, but enhanced. We'd been featured in Forbes as the luxury property that took down a federal fraud ring. Reservations were up 340%. I stood at the bar, watching Riley work the room. She was in her element, charming donors, reassuring board members, radiating confidence and competence. She caught my eye across the room. Smiled. I was planning to leave. My transition contract had technically ended when the crisis resolved. I had 3 job offers on my desk, luxury properties in Dubai, Singapore, Monaco. Then Riley appeared at my elbow. Running away? She asked. Exploring opportunities, I corrected. I have an opportunity for you. She pulled out a formal envelope. Partner, equal equity, co-management structure. Salary 30% above your highest offer. I opened it. The contract was real, legitimate, generous beyond industry standards. Why? I asked. Because you're the best at what you do. Because I trust you completely. Because... She paused. Because I don't want to do this without you. Around us, the gala continued. Music, laughter, celebration. I set down the contract, took her hand, public, deliberate, in front of the entire board of directors and 200 guests. I'm staying, I said. Her smile could have powered the city grid. Good, she said, because I have plans for us. Professional and otherwise. Otherwise? I raised an eyebrow. 90-day waiting period ends in 83 days. I'm counting. So am I admitted. I pulled her closer. Level 4 contact. Arm around her waist. Anchoring her to me in front of everyone who mattered. I learned something through all this, I said quietly, so only she could hear. I spent 15 years delivering 5-star experiences, thinking success meant perfect execution and 0 risk. But true luxury, real satisfaction, isn't found in flawless protocol. No, she asked, her eyes warm. No, it's found in someone who trusts you at 3 a.m. with everything they have. Someone who challenges you to be better. Someone who makes you want to build something permanent instead of just managing temporary stays. She kissed my cheek. Soft. Brief. Promise of more to come. Welcome home, partner, she whispered. And standing there, in a hotel that had been my family's legacy and was now our shared future, I realized something fundamental. Some reservations aren't temporary. Some bookings are for life. If you enjoyed this story, please like and subscribe for more workplace drama romances. New stories posted weekly.